My parents favored my sister my whole life, but when she learned I had $40 million, she completely lost it. I am Aria, 35, and I built a tech empire worth $40 million that nobody in my family knows about. My entire life, my parents treated my sister Chloe like their golden child while I was just an afterthought. They showered her with attention, praise, and financial support while I learned to succeed on my own. 4 years, I kept my fortune secret until last Thanksgiving when Chloe accidentally discovered the truth about my wealth. What followed was the most explosive family dinner in history, revealing 30 years of buried resentment before I tell you how my sister's meltdown unfolded. Let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button if you've ever felt invisible in your own family. Trust me, what happened next changed everything. Growing up in a middle-class suburban home in Charlotte, North Carolina, the pattern was established early. From my earliest memories, there was always a clear favorite in our household, and it wasn't me. My sister Chloe, just 2 years younger, somehow captured all the warmth and attention our parents had to offer. While I learned to exist in the background, I remember when I turned 10, I woke up excited like any kid would be. I came downstairs expecting at least a small celebration, maybe some pancakes or a wrapped gift waiting at my place at the breakfast table. Instead, I found my parents frantically preparing for Chloe's gymnastics meet. My mother, Linda, looked up briefly when I entered the kitchen. "Oh, Aria, there's cereal in the pantry. We need to get Chloe to her warm-up. We'll do something for your birthday next weekend," she said, adjusting Chloe's leotard. Next weekend never came. They forgot entirely. 3 months later, when Chloe turned 8, our house transformed into a carnival, bounce house in the backyard, personalized cake, and 20 of her friends running around our house. I helped set up decorations and served lemonade to her friends. "Aria is such a good big sister," my mother told the other parents proudly. The only acknowledgement I received that day. It was the first time I realized I existed in my family primarily as an extension of Chloe. My father, Robert, worked as a financial planner at a local firm, stern and particular about everything except Chloe's behavior. My mother, Linda, worked part-time as a school administrator, constantly worried about what others thought of our family. Between them, they created a household where Chloe's emotions dictated the family atmosphere. "Chloe is sensitive," they would explain when she threw tantrums and got her way. "She needs extra support." Meanwhile, I was always the responsible one, the mature one, the self-sufficient one. These weren't compliments, but expectations that absolved them from having to worry about me. By 12, I had taught myself basic computer programming from library books. Our family had one desktop computer, and I was only allowed to use it when Chloe wasn't playing games on it. During those precious hours, usually late at night, I absorbed everything I could about coding. When I was 14, neighbors started asking me to fix their computers. I remember Mrs. Patterson from 3 houses down paid me $20 to remove a virus from her laptop. I held those crisp bills in my hand, the first money I'd earned, and felt something shift inside me. I didn't tell my parents about this income. It was mine, the first thing that truly belonged just to me. By 16, I had a steady stream of clients in the neighborhood. I opened a bank account with the help of my grandfather, William, the only adult who seemed to see something special in me. "You've got a gift, Aria," he told me one afternoon as he drove me to a client's house. "And more importantly, you've got grit. That combination will take you places." Grandpa William had built his own contracting business from nothing. He recognized the entrepreneurial spark in me that my parents overlooked. When he passed away during my senior year of high school, he left me $5,000 with a note that said, "For your first business venture, make it count." My parents were baffled by the bequest. Why didn't he split it between both granddaughters? My mother wondered aloud, genuinely confused. I didn't fight for attention. I didn't complain about the unequal treatment. Instead, I made a decision that would shape my life. I would excel so quietly that they wouldn't notice until it was too late to claim any credit. Success would be my silent revenge. While Chloe plastered her walls with participation ribbons and had every minor achievement celebrated with dinner out, I stored my academic awards in a box under my bed. When I made honor roll every semester of high school, my father's only comment was, "That's expected." When Chloe passed math with a C- after nearly failing, they took her out for ice cream to celebrate her perseverance. I learned to cook for myself, do my own laundry, and manage my time without reminders. Each small independence was another brick in the foundation I was building for my future. Each oversight from my parents was another lesson in self-reliance. By 18, I had saved nearly $10,000 from my computer repair business and added it to my grandfather's bequest. My parents had no idea. When they discussed college costs, it was always about how they would manage Chloe's education. Mine was an afterthought, with the assumption that loans and scholarships would cover it because I was the smart one. I didn't correct them. I let them believe what was convenient for them to believe. In the shadows of their neglect, I was building something they couldn't imagine. When college acceptance letters arrived, I had several options, including 2 prestigious tech schools that offered partial scholarships. My parents glanced at the offers and nodded with minimal interest. The real celebration came 2 weeks later when Chloe received a single acceptance to an expensive private arts college known more for its beautiful campus than its academic rigor. "We'll figure out your loans later," my father told me as he calculated how they could afford Chloe's tuition. "Chloe needs this opportunity. She's finding herself." I chose the state university with the best computer science program that offered me a half scholarship. I would need to cover the rest myself, but I had my savings and planned to work throughout college. When moving day came, my father helped me load my few boxes into my used Honda Civic. "You're all set," he said, checking his watch. "We need to get back to help Chloe prepare for her orientation next week." My mother hugged me briefly. "Call if you need anything. You'll be fine, you always are." I drove 5 hours to campus alone, moved into my dorm alone, and attended orientation alone. It was just another day in my life. My roommate Jamie changed everything. She walked in with a stack of computer equipment and a boisterous laugh. "Hope you're into tech because I'm turning this place into mission control," she announced. Jamie was everything I wasn't: outgoing, confident, from a wealthy family that supported her every endeavor. Yet somehow we clicked immediately. She recognized my programming skills, and I appreciated her vision and people skills. "Dude, you code like a machine," she said after watching me debug a project. "Where did you learn this stuff?" "Taught myself," I replied. Nobody was watching, so I just kept going. During our sophomore year, Jamie and I created our first app together, a simple campus organization tool that helped students coordinate study groups and share notes. We expected maybe a few hundred users at our university. Within 6 months, 10,000 students across 5 campuses were using it. A small tech magazine did a feature on us, and we started getting emails from angel investors. The first check we received was for $50,000 in exchange for 20% of our company. Jamie and I looked at each other in shock when the money hit our account. "Do we tell our parents?" Jamie asked. I thought about my family, about how they'd suddenly be interested in my life if they knew. "Not yet," I said. "Let's build this thing first." While I was creating algorithms in our dorm room, Chloe had dropped out of her expensive college after 3 semesters. My parents called to tell me they needed to tighten belts since they were still paying off her tuition debt. I didn't tell them I had just made more money that month than my father earned in a year. I worked through holidays, taking only brief breaks to make obligatory family appearances. When I graduated with honors in computer science, my ceremony coincided with Chloe's art show opening. She had decided to become a painter after working at a gallery for a few months. My parents chose her event. "You understand, right, Aria? Chloe really needs our support right now. Her art is so personal. We'll celebrate your graduation later." I walked across the stage to receive my diploma with Jamie's parents cheering for me. They took pictures and treated me to dinner afterward. "We're so proud of you, girls," Jamie's mother said. "You're going to change the world." After graduation, Jamie and I rented a small 2-bedroom apartment and converted the living room into an office space. We lived on ramen and coffee, pouring every dollar back into our growing business. We hired our first employee, then our second. Our app evolved into a more sophisticated academic platform that colleges were willing to pay for. Meanwhile, Chloe had abandoned painting for photography, then pottery, then jewelry making. Each new passion required equipment, classes, and studio space. My parents remortgaged their house to help her open a boutique that closed within 8 months. "She just hasn't found her path yet," my mother explained during one of our rare phone calls. "Not everyone knows their purpose as early as you did, Aria." The irony was they had no idea what my purpose actually was or what I had built. They assumed I had a regular programming job making decent but unexceptional money. When they suggested I should help out the family since I was established, I simply said I was still paying off student loans. They never questioned it further or asked about my business. By 27, Jamie and I had transformed our college project into a legitimate tech company. Our data security software was being adopted by universities and small businesses across the country. We moved into real office space and hired a team of 15 people. My personal stake in the company was worth over $2 million on paper, though I continued to live modestly and reinvest profits. "Aria, you need to treat yourself sometimes," Jamie urged after we landed a contract worth 7 figures. "At least buy a decent car." I upgraded from my college Honda to a new mid-range Toyota. Nothing flashy, but reliable and comfortable. When I drove it to my parents' house for Christmas, my father glanced at it and nodded. Sensible choice, probably good gas mileage. That same holiday, they gifted Chloe a substantial down payment on a condo because she had finally found a stable relationship with a finance guy she'd been dating for 3 months. The relationship ended before she even closed on the property, but my parents covered the costs anyway. While building our business, I created a carefully constructed facade for my family. I was doing fine, never struggling, never exceptional, just fine. It was safer that way. I watched as Chloe received emotional and financial support for every crisis while I received occasional texts asking if I was still doing that computer thing. The real turning point came when Jamie and I developed a revolutionary data security protocol. In an age of increasing privacy concerns and data breaches, we created encryption software that was both more secure and more user-friendly than anything on the market. Major tech blogs started mentioning us. Industry insiders began reaching out. Our first major client was a regional banking chain looking to upgrade their security systems. The contract was worth $1.2 million, more money than I had ever imagined seeing in my bank account. When the payment cleared, Jamie popped champagne in our office. "We should celebrate. Let's buy a yacht or something crazy," she joked. Instead, I made a strategic decision that would define my financial future. I would continue living modestly while building wealth in silence. I found a brilliant financial advisor named Rachel who helped me create a series of investments and shell corporations to manage my growing fortune privately. "Most people want to flaunt their wealth," Rachel observed during one of our meetings. "You're doing the opposite. May I ask why?" I thought about my family, about the dynamics that would shift if they knew. "I want my success to be mine," I told her. "Not something others can claim or exploit." She nodded with understanding and helped me create a financial structure that kept my assets secure and private. On paper, I was a comfortable but not wealthy tech entrepreneur. In reality, my net worth was climbing rapidly. I bought my dream house at 30, a beautiful, modern home on 3 acres of land with a dedicated office space and the kitchen I'd always wanted. I paid cash through one of my corporations and then rented it from my own company at a nominal rate that would seem reasonable on my visible income. When my mother asked about my living situation during one of our infrequent calls, I simply said, "I found a nice place with affordable rent. The tech industry is doing well." She quickly shifted the conversation to Chloe's latest drama, a failed interior design business that my parents had financed, resulting in substantial debt. "We may need to help her out again," my mother sighed. "She's really struggling right now." "That's tough," I replied neutrally while sitting in my paid-off $3 million home. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon in early November. I was in the middle of a meeting about a potential merger when my phone lit up with my mother's name. I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. "Aria, we're expecting you for Thanksgiving this year," my mother said without preamble. Not asking, not inviting, expecting. I hesitated. I hadn't been home for Thanksgiving in 3 years, making excuses about work commitments that were partially true. The last family holiday I'd attended had been Christmas 2 years ago, a tense affair where my parents had spent most of the time discussing Chloe's latest divorce from a wealthy real estate developer she'd been married to for 11 months. "I'm pretty busy with work right now," I began. "Family is more important than work," my mother interrupted, her voice taking on the guilt-inducing tone I knew well. "Chloe is going through a difficult time. She's living with us again, and it would mean a lot to have everyone together." Of course. Chloe was in crisis, so the family needed to rally. I was being summoned, not as a daughter they missed, but as a supporting character in Chloe's ongoing drama. "I'll see what I can do," I replied non-committally. "We'll set a place for you," she said, considering the matter settled. "Oh, and Aria, Chloe mentioned you might be working on some big business deal. Feel free to bring any of your business partners if you'd like." I froze. I hadn't mentioned any deal to Chloe or my parents. Our company was indeed in final negotiations for a $40 million buyout from a major tech corporation, but that information was strictly confidential. Only the executive team and our lawyers knew the details. What did Chloe tell you exactly? I asked carefully. Just that you might have some exciting business news. Is there something you want to share with your family? There was a new note in my mother's voice, interest, perhaps even pride. After hanging up, I immediately called our legal team. After some investigation, we discovered what had happened. In responding to an email from our lawyer about the final buyout details, I had accidentally copied Chloe's email address. Her name had autofilled because I'd emailed her birthday wishes the previous month. She had received confidential information about the $40 million deal, including details about my personal stake in the company. Within hours of that email mishap, my family had suddenly developed an intense interest in my professional life. After years of indifference, they were now eager to hear about my success. My phone began lighting up with texts from Chloe. Hey, big sis. Long time no talk. We should catch up before Thanksgiving. Didn't know your company was doing so well. So proud of you. Can't wait to hear all about your business at Thanksgiving. Bring your partners too. After years of minimal contact, Chloe had called me 4 times in the week leading up to Thanksgiving. I let each call go to voicemail. Her messages became increasingly transparent, mentioning family investment opportunities and how she was considering getting into tech herself. My father, who typically contacted me only when he needed computer help, called to chat about business strategy and mentioned he was considering some investments before retirement. The sudden attention was as transparent as it was insulting. I decided to attend Thanksgiving, but alone. No business partners, no girlfriend, no witnesses to whatever was about to unfold. I spent the days leading up to the holiday preparing mentally, rehearsing responses to the questions and requests I anticipated. The drive to my parents' house in Charlotte took 3 hours. With each mile, I felt myself regressing, the confident CEO giving way to the overlooked daughter. I pulled into their driveway at 4 in the afternoon. The house looked the same from the outside, but I noticed new landscaping and a recently paved driveway. Chloe's financial drain must have temporarily paused long enough for some home improvements. I rang the doorbell instead of using my key, a small but deliberate choice to position myself as a visitor rather than a member of the household. My mother opened the door with an unusually bright smile. Aria, you made it. She embraced me with enthusiasm that felt foreign and uncomfortable. Over her shoulder, I saw my father emerge from the living room, also smiling widely. There's our businesswoman, he called out, approaching with his hand extended as if greeting a colleague rather than his daughter. The house interior had been significantly updated since my last visit. New furniture, high-end appliances in the kitchen, and what appeared to be original artwork on the walls. I wondered briefly how they were affording these upgrades when they had been complaining about finances for years. Chloe emerged from the kitchen, wearing an expensive-looking outfit and more makeup than usual. Her smile was wide but didn't reach her eyes. My successful sister finally graces us with her presence, she announced, embracing me tightly. She whispered in my ear, we have so much to catch up on. We moved to the living room where the interrogation began, thinly disguised as casual conversation. So business must be booming, my father started. Chloe mentioned you might have some exciting developments. I glanced at Chloe, who suddenly became very interested in her wine glass. Business is stable, I replied neutrally. The conversation continued through appetizers. My parents and sister asked increasingly direct questions about my finances while I provided increasingly vague answers. The frustration in the room was palpable. When we moved to the dining room, I noticed I had been seated at the head of the table, a first in family history. Traditionally, my father took that position with Chloe at his right hand. The new arrangement was telling. Halfway through the main course, Chloe could no longer maintain the pretense. She set down her fork with a clank. Okay, enough small talk. Aria, we know about the $40 million deal, she said flatly. I saw the email. Why are you being so secretive with your own family? The table fell silent. My parents' eyes darted between Chloe and me, their expressions a mix of embarrassment at her directness and eagerness for my response. I took a sip of water, using the moment to compose myself. That information was confidential. Chloe, you weren't supposed to see it. Well, I did see it, she continued, her voice rising slightly. And I don't understand why you've been hiding your success from us. We're your family. Are we, though? The words left my mouth before I could reconsider them. My mother gasped softly. My father's face hardened. What is that supposed to mean? He demanded. It means that for most of my life, I've been an afterthought in this family, I said calmly. Chloe has always been the priority, emotionally, financially, in every way that matters. That's not true, my mother protested weakly. Isn't it? I countered. When was the last time you called me just to check in? Not because you needed tech support or because Chloe was in crisis. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Chloe broke it, turning the conversation back to money. Look, whatever issues you think you have with this family, the point is you're sitting on a fortune while the rest of us have been struggling, she said. Don't you think you owe us something? Owe you? I repeated, genuinely stunned by her audacity. Yes, owe us, Chloe insisted. Mom and Dad have supported me through some rough times because I needed it. You've obviously been doing fine, more than fine. Don't you think you should help your family now that you can? Years of suppressed feelings surged to the surface. What foundation did you give me exactly? I asked quietly. You paid for Chloe's expensive private college while telling me to take out loans. You forgot my birthdays while throwing elaborate parties for her. You skipped my college graduation to attend her art show. We always believed in you, my mother interjected. We knew you'd be fine. No, I corrected her. You didn't worry about me because you didn't think about me at all. Chloe's face flushed with anger. That's so unfair. I had different needs. I struggled more than you. Everything always came easily to you. Nothing came easily to me, I replied. I worked for everything I have. I taught myself programming. I built a business from nothing. The difference is that I did it all without an audience, without praise, without support. So now you're punishing us by hoarding your money. Chloe's voice rose sharply. Do you know what I could do with even a fraction of $40 million? After all you've been through. I repeated slowly. What exactly have you been through, Chloe? Except a series of failures that Mom and Dad cushioned for you every time. How dare you? She shouted, pushing back from the table. In a moment that seemed to happen in slow motion, she grabbed her wine glass and flung the contents toward me. The red liquid splashed across my white blouse, a dramatic punctuation to her outburst. The table fell silent. My mother covered her mouth in shock. My father sat frozen. Chloe stood breathing heavily, the empty glass still in her hand. I calmly picked up my napkin and dabbed at my shirt. And there it is, I said quietly. The real Chloe. When you don't get what you want, you throw a tantrum and everyone rushes to soothe you. That's been the pattern my entire life. I stood up from the table. Thank you for dinner. I think I'll be leaving now. As I walked to my car, I felt something unexpected, not satisfaction or vindication, but profound relief. The facade had finally cracked, revealing the truth we had all danced around for decades. For the first time in my life, I had spoken my truth to my family. Whether they could hear it or not was beyond my control. But I knew I would never go back to being the invisible daughter, the reliable afterthought, the untapped resource. Whatever relationship we might have in the future would have to be built on something real.